Want to reduce the chances of getting your passwords and accounts hacked? NordPass can help with that, and wouldn't you know it, they're sponsoring this video. Stick around to the end to learn more. Gamers, you are probably wondering why this week's edition of This Week in Videogames is so late. Did Austin request even more time off to play Fishing Simulator 2022, aka Guild Wars 2, End of Dragons? No, he did not. Austin is not the reason this video is late. But if it's fishing he's interested in, then could I suggest an exciting new fishing spot I just discovered? My office. Okay, so this is my TV where I work, and this is currently my floor. That's cool. That's great. Love it. Fantastic. So, yeah, content is going to be a little bit delayed for the next little while. Yes, that's right. This is actually footage of my office, which was flooded over the last few days, as the Australian East Coast suffers from some of the worst flooding in recorded history. In the first few days of March alone, we got more rain than we do in an entire year. Sadly, my house sits right on top of a stormwater drain, and, well, the drain couldn't keep up, and this was the result. My family and I are all fine, by the way, though the same can't be said for my office and the furniture and some of the equipment. Luckily, most of the big stuff survived, and I can say it's extremely handy to have a Steam Deck at times like this, since this thing has basically become my main driver at this point, and will remain so over the coming weeks as we organize like repairs and replacements and all that shit. So, thanks, Gaben. Love you, bro. But like they say, the show must go on while the recovery operation continues here at Casa del Shillup. The world of video games continues to spin, and far be it from me to deny you my hot takes. So, ladies and gentlemen, here comes the news. Alright, let's do some real meat and potatoes gaming news first. Announcements for announcements. This week, Activision Blizzard reminded the world that Warcraft still exists, and despite its multi-year malaise, the soon-to-be-acquired publisher certainly isn't giving up on the IP anytime soon. Blizzard announced that they'll soon be revealing the future of the Warcraft franchise, kicking off on the 15th with the reveal of Hearthstone's next 3 expansions, at least one of which will be arriving this year. Speaking of expansions, Blizzard will be unveiling the next World of Warcraft expansion on April 19th, sure to be a high-stakes reveal, given that the last 3 expansions really haven't done the franchise any favors, especially in the storytelling and lore department. With the rampant growth of MMO alternatives like Final Fantasy XIV, Lost Ark, and Destiny 2, the competition in the MMO genre has never been more fierce, and many are looking for the next expansion to bring WoW back to center stage. Let's hope that Blizzard have an ace or two up their sleeve. Finally, the long-promised Warcraft mobile game will be revealed in May. This has been teased by Blizzard many times as it sought to appease investors desperate to see Blizzard soaking up those heady mobile dollars. So bankers around the world rejoice! The Warcraft mobile game will be here soon. Not super soon though, to be honest, since it's important to remember that Diablo Immortal has had a crazy long beta test period of basically 2 years, so it's clear that Blizzard are taking their time with their mobile stuff rather than just shoveling it out the door like they did with, say, Warcraft Reforged. Remember that one? Man, that was a fun news cycle. Final piece of Blizzard news relates to the sort of sequel to 2016 Game of the Year, Overwatch. Overwatch 2 continues to be a puzzling enigma, a live service game shipping a box sequel that seems to be offering only minor improvements over the original. The package is about to get a whole lot less mysterious this week since Blizzard have announced that a closed beta for Overwatch 2's PvP game mode will commence in April. This will be invite only, mirroring the days of Overwatch 1's beta, where streamers and pros got to play the game for months while the rest of us looked on jealously, earning the game the nickname Only Watch. You could try your luck out for a beta invite by signing up on Blizzard's website. Good luck, you're gonna need it. While we're on the topic of MMOs, you may recall that Guild Wars 2 launched its End of Dragons expansion last week, and dozens of people are playing it. I'm joking, by the way. I just roast Guild Wars because Austin loves it so much. It's collateral damage in our bants. Sorry, ArenaNet, nothing personal. Anyway, Austin has taken time out of his busy Lost Ark schedule to play the Guild Wars expansion, and since you all seem to love it so much whenever he grabs the mic off me, I thought it'd be the perfect opportunity for another editor's choice. Take it away, Austin.
Alright, this is the last time I get to talk about Guild Wars 2, okay? So let's talk about End of Dragons. Now, odds are, if you're a Guild Wars 2 enjoyer like me, then you've played the expansion. You already know it's good. So I'll spell this out for returning players or for those who haven't played Guild Wars 2 at all. If you're just starting out and end up catching up with the campaign, you'll find that End of Dragons delivers a pretty satisfying conclusion to this 10-year story arc. But if you choose to use the free level boost and jump straight into the deep end, you're in for a treat, as you'll get to play the most well-produced expansion to date, with awesome set-piece moments, compelling characters with excellent voice acting, and the best music Guild Wars has ever had. More importantly, you'll quickly get access to gliding and get a taste of the genre-leading mounts, which used to be unlocked through the previous expansions, on top of great new additions to the game, like your own utility droid, a personal boat, fishing, a turtle with cannons, and more. All this Metroidvania-style progression will serve to enhance your journey through some of the most stunning environments this game has served up, from a serene harbor to a haunting cyberpunk city to a creepy gothic forest. These new maps are packed with fun things to do. Sieging temples, unlocking your new subclass, fishing tournaments, hidden puzzle chests. You're spoiled for choice here. If you're looking for a refreshing MMORPG experience with an emphasis on buildcraft, exploration, and spectacular open world events without a gear treadmill nor a subscription fee, you won't regret jumping into Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons.
By the way, did you guys know that Austin has his own YouTube channel? He's trying to supplant me. Soon I'll be his editor. He's focusing on Guild Wars content at the moment, but he likes to mess around over there, so if you'd like to show him some love, then I left a link below in the description. Make sure you hit the subscribe button when you're there. Hey, you guys remember Star Wars Eclipse? This is that Star Wars action game from unlikely developer Quantic Dream, the team led by David Cage and responsible for games like Detroit Become Human and memes like Press X to Jason. The game debuted at the Game Awards last year with an extremely impressive trailer that told us absolutely nothing about the game. I mean, sure, it looked cool, great vibe, but this was basically just concept art in motion, so you got the feeling that this title was still very early in development. That was true, it turns out, as a number of outlets were able to confirm from their sources that the title wouldn't ship for at least another 3 to 4 years. That's a long wait, but it turns out it may be even longer than that. Reporting from X-Fire says they've confirmed the game won't ship until around 2027 or 2028, dates that were eventually backed up by Jeff Grubb of VentureBeat. The delay is apparently due to difficulties in finding staff. X-Fire did a deep dive on job listings on their website and have found that a number of senior positions have been open for 2 years or more, while the total number of job openings at Quantic Dream has only increased over time. There could be a lot of reasons for this, but high on that list is certainly Quantic Dream's reputation, since a number of former employees have alleged a toxic and hostile work environment, particularly towards women and minority groups. If this is the reason developers are steering clear of Quantic Dream, then it mirrors a broader industry trend where both Activision Blizzard and Ubisoft have struggled to attract and retain staff after the details of their toxic work environments were made public. It's a serious deterrent for any talented developer to consider when thinking about where to build a career, so while these organizations may be able to escape legal accountability, they can't escape the impact it's having on their talent pipeline. This is a challenge that may soon be affecting Sony, who this week saw a class action lawsuit against them suddenly and dramatically escalate. Sony was already being sued by one former employee named Emma Mayho, alleging a workplace environment that was hostile to women. Sony tried to dismiss her case, citing a lack of facts, so Mayo's lawyers responded with statements from 7 former Sony employees and 1 current employee, all of whom back up Mayo's accusations. Quote, "The women describe a range of behaviors across multiple US-based PlayStation offices, including demeaning comments, unwelcome advances, a lack of attention paid to their work or ideas, and, most frequently, a sense that it was harder for women to be promoted in the company," end quote. The statements would detail specific examples, such as an employee calibration session where only 4 women were considered for leadership positions compared to some 70 men, and that women's family lives were brought into those conversations in a way that they weren't for men. While these issues are most typified by the extreme examples at Ubisoft and Activision Blizzard, this Sony case is a reminder that these issues are far more widespread than that. Phil Spencer of Microsoft has been very open about the sort of cultural journey that Xbox has gone on over the years as it strives for a more inclusive culture, as has Bungie, who readily admitted that they made plenty of mistakes in the past. This is an industry-wide challenge, and the results of this court case will surely be watched closely since Sony is such a load-bearing pillar of the industry. We'll get more information on this next month when the next hearing is scheduled. The news of this lawsuit certainly took the excitement out of this week's State of Play, where Sony showed off mainly third-party offerings, but with a smattering of first-party stuff as well. On the third-party front, Square Enix took the lead with the reveal of a new Valkyrie game titled Valkyrie Elysium, and something called Diofield Chronicle, which, to be honest, looks pretty great. Got some very strong Fire Emblem vibes from this one. Along with their remakes of classic tactics titles and their recent triangle strategy, it's clear that Square are leading a tactics renaissance that will surely, at some point, culminate in the reveal of a Final Fantasy Tactics remake. One day, It'll happen, surely. Probably. Bandai Namco showed off JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R, which is a remake of a 2014 game with basically the same name, just no R. I'm not a JoJo fan, but fans have gone absolutely nuts to see this, so that's great. We also got an update on that Gundam Hero Shooter, which it turns out is actually free to play. It's a 6v6 PvP game. It's going to hit sometime this year, but no specific date on that one yet. One of the best reveals was for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Edition, which ships later this year and brings together 13 of the classic 8 and 16-bit Turtle games, including the ones that came out in Japan. Turtle games were the shit when I was growing up. Playing co-op with my brothers, whoever dies gets off. Classic rule sets for classic games. Love it. The best news of the show was that Capcom has finally responded to our years and years of begging for a Dino Crisis remake or sequel, and though the wait was long, I can confirm that this is absolutely a Capcom game with dinosaurs in it, and Regina, but it's absolutely not a Dino Crisis game. Watch this. This is Exoprimal, and it's pretty much the craziest shit I've seen from a AAA studio in a long time. It basically asks, what if we combined Anthem and Earth Defense Force and then added dinosaurs? The result is really something. A lot of people think this looks shit, but I think it looks fucking cool. I mean, it could be shit, don't get me wrong, but you're basically Reinhardt shielding a flood of dinosaurs while your squad mates mow them down with War Machine miniguns and rockets. This looks so stupid that it just might work. It's out next year, no specific date. The only real first-party Sony reveal was for Returnal Ascension, a very cool and very free update to the game that adds a whole bunch of stuff. First up, co-op. Hell yes! This is a bullet hell shooter that was crying out for some co-op love, but a feature like that, I would have thought they'd saved it for a sequel or paid DLC at least, but nope, you can play through the entirety of Returnal co-op without having to purchase any sort of update. That's not all though, the update also adds the Tower of Sisyphus, an endless mode where you continue to climb for as long and as high as you can until you are eventually worn down. There are no rewards per se, other than leaderboard bragging rights, but this mode does have new narrative attached to it, so it's going to be worth playing through at least once if you found yourself hooked on Atropos the way I was. There were two other pieces of Sony news this week. The first was about a God of War TV show. While filming for The Last of Us has now wrapped, it was inevitable that Sony would look to what's next as it expands its major IPs into other mediums. Deadline is reporting that negotiations are currently underway between Sony and Amazon Prime Video, where The Expanse's creators and producers are attached. That is awesome news because I'm watching The Expanse for the first time right now and it fucking rules. So if these people are going to be in charge of God of War, then I'm okay with that. Still, it is hard to imagine how they top what God of War 2018 was, as much a cinematic achievement as it was a video game. Big shoes to fill for both its sequel due out at the end of this year and this TV show whenever it might appear. Final piece of Sony news comes courtesy of Jeff Grubb, who claims to have the inside track on the upcoming response to Xbox Game Pass. Currently codenamed Spartacus, the subscription service was revealed by Bloomberg last year, and while there's still no official confirmation of it, it's a fairly open secret at this point that something's on the way. Grubb says he got hold of more detailed information relating to tiers and pricing, and it's pretty juicy stuff. If reporting is accurate, you can expect 3 tiers, Essential, Extra, and Premium. Essential is just PS Plus as it exists now, online play access, as well as a few free games a month. That'll run you for $10 a month. The extra tier gives you all that plus access to a game catalog, which is similar to what Game Pass provides, and Sony will charge $13 for that. The premium tier caps out at $16 a month and will include game streaming, so PS Now basically, as well as a selection of classic games and game trials, all features that Game Pass currently offer, but it will be nice to have Sony's extensive first-party lineup accessible through these means. This new service is sure to be fairly disruptive, since it's the first major Game Pass competitor to hit the scene, surely intensifying the war for Day 1 exclusive content. I certainly expect to see more than a few third-party Day 1 exclusives, but Sony have been pretty clear that they aren't interested in putting God of War Ragnarok on there as a Day 1 offering, the same way that Microsoft do with their first-party titles. No specific release date on Spartacus, but it's likely to hit sometime this year. Speaking of new services, Amazon's Luna has officially released in the US. If you haven't heard of this one, you're not alone, because basically no one has heard of this one. This is Amazon's answer to Google's wildly successful Stadia, where you can stream games from the cloud without relying on local hardware. Amazon are taking a very different approach to the business model on this one though, relying on subscriptions to specific channels that have a range of content, like you can subscribe to the Ubisoft channel or the Retro retro games channel, etc. It's an interesting idea, not sure how it'll play out, but it's got to be a hell of a lot better than being asked to pay $60 US per game, which is the shit Stadia tried to pull, and we all know how that went down. Like I said, wildly successful. If you're in the US and you're interested, you can visit Amazon's Luna website to try it out for yourself. Sadly, the Russian invasion of Ukraine continues, and it's been genuinely surprising to see the degree to which companies, video game companies in particular, have been stepping up to show solidarity and support of the Ukrainian people. Earlier this week, the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine put out an open letter addressed directly to video games companies, calling for them to withdraw from Russia. Quote, "I appeal to temporarily block all Russian and Belarusian accounts, temporarily stop the participation of all Russian and Belarusian teams and gamers in all international esports events, and cancel all international events holding on the territory of Russia and Belarus," end quote. It was a rallying cry that few publishers dared ignore. Activision Blizzard, Ubisoft, Epic Games, Riot, EA, Rockstar, Nvidia, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo all responded in their own ways, with most of them halting the sale of any new products or in-game items, and some of them even going as far as to block access to services altogether. You may wonder why the Ukrainian government would agitate for action in the world of video games of all places, but the truth is, man, if you take away people's video games, it not only pisses them off, but it gives them a lot of free time to do other stuff. And that is a group of people who are very online, very tech savvy, and very well versed in communication and culture. Hell, memes are a powerful political tool in the 21st century, and if you haven't looked at the way that online gamer culture has come to influence the political process all around the world, then you should look into that, because it's not a small amount of influence. It sucks that the Russian people are forced to suffer due to the actions of Putin, but hopefully actions like this create enough pressure on him to alter his course, saving Ukrainian lives and sovereignty. Okay, that was a serious block, so let's finish on something a little more lighthearted. Australia's rating board. It's still an international laughingstock, because this week, Rimworld was banned. Okay, Rimworld has been on sale here for PC since 2013, and we never had a problem. But the game is about to get a console release, which means that it has to be reviewed again by our ratings board. They denied it a ratings classification, citing the same obscure bullshit they always do, that the game would, quote, offend against the standards of morality, decency, and propriety generally accepted by reasonable adults, end quote. Reasonable adults. Who are these adults? The Amish? We actually don't have any of them here, so probably not. We don't know exactly why the game was banned, but it's usually because of drug use, where any banned narcotic that gives you a positive benefit in-game is essentially grounds for getting your game banned in Australia. There was hope that this wouldn't affect the availability of the PC version, since Disco Elysium was banned in a similar way, but its PC version stayed up on the Steam store. Alas, that wasn't the case. Rimworld has disappeared from Steam, and there is no word on if or when it might return. What a terrible week for Australia. Floods, Warnie, and now this. Rest in peace, Warnie. We all miss you, mate. So, what got announced or delayed this week? Well, outside all the stuff we got in the State of Play, there are actually quite a few announcements and delays this week. First up is Dolmen, which got a release date of March 20th, arriving on all platforms but the Switch. I've had my eye on this one for a while now, since I'm a bit of a sucker for sci-fi takes on the Souls-like formula. This one feels closer to Remnant from the Ashes than the Surge though, as it seems to balance both ranged and melee combat in a way that the Surge sure didn't. Definitely a AA offering from the presentation side of things, but hey, so was Remnant, and that totally ruled. I'm looking forward to this one. Lost Judgment is getting some DLC. It's called the Kaito Files, and you play as Yagami's sidekick Kaito in an all-new spin-off adventure. Now, I know most Judgment fans have absolutely no interest in hearing my take on this, but I, for one, welcome this news, because Yagami was the most boring video game protagonist since Ethan Winters, and Kaito was cool. This dude has more personality in a single floral shirt than Yagami had over 50 hours of drawn-out dialogue, so yeah, this could be cool. It's out very soon, March 28th to be precise. Resident Evil Village was the first next-gen compatible Resident Evil game, and it did very well for itself, so Capcom are looking to bring some of the series' recent entries into the next-gen era. This week, Capcom announced that Resident Evil 2 and 3 Remake and Resident Evil 7 are all getting next-gen versions. All versions will be getting new features such as ray tracing, improved frame rates, and 3D audio, while the PS5 versions will be getting support for haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. Best of all, the update is free to everyone who already owns the game on a PS4 or an Xbox, because of course it would be. I mean, what publisher would try to charge people for a minor next-gen facelift? Who would do that? Rockstar Games would do that, and that's exactly what they did this week, where they confirmed the next-gen update for GTA 5 would not be free, and would instead require you to repurchase the game. There is a discount running for the first 3 months of launch that discounts the game by 50%, but after that, you're paying full price, baby. Absolutely no surprises there, since that's how Rockstar and their publisher Take-Two do. The update is out next week on the 15th, expected to be the #1 selling game in all territories for the month of March, and probably every month for the rest of the year, except for when the new Pokemon game comes out. We got an official release date for Gotham Knights this week, October 25th. This news comes courtesy of a tweet with little other fanfare attached. This is welcome news, since there were certainly rumblings that this one may have slipped into 2023 alongside Rocksteady's Suicide Squad, which is apparently sliding into next year. Gotham Knights is a co-op brawler that I think looks pretty rad, but I know a few people are a little skittish on this one, since its debut had everyone worried that this was a live service. It is not, and the game can be played offline, so yeah, it's just a good old-fashioned video game, and I'm always down for that. The two delay announcements for this week were both fairly surprising. The first comes from Square Enix, who this week announced that their upcoming open-world spell slinger Forspoken has been delayed to October 25th. The title was initially meant to ship in May, but the team have said they needed more time to polish the game. This one makes a lot of sense, actually. The recent preview build we all saw was hella unoptimized, so much so that I was like, you guys sure you want to be showing this? Hopefully the extra dev time gives the developer space to iron out all the kinks, because after Marvel's Avengers and Babylon's Fall, Square Enix needs a big win from a game that doesn't have the words Final Fantasy or 14 in the title. The last delay comes from Nintendo. Taking to Twitter yesterday, Nintendo said, quote, "In light of recent world events, we have made the decision to delay Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, which was originally scheduled to release on Nintendo Switch on the 8th of April. Please stay tuned for updates on a new release date," end quote. Obviously, they're referring to the invasion of Ukraine, and that might seem a little bit weird at first until you learn that one of the factions in the game is basically based on Russia. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of looks odd at first, but then when you dig a little deeper, you're like, right, okay, so yeah. Anyway, no new date yet. That'll be out sometime later this year. Maybe, probably, maybe. So, what came out last week? Well, a whole lot, that's what. Kicking things off was Elex 2, which arrived on all platforms but the Switch. This one seems to have landed just about the same way the first one did, which is to say that it's pretty rough around the edges, but if it clicks with you, you're likely to look past those shortcomings and have a good time. The game is currently sitting at a mostly positive 76% on Steam, and critics were broadly in line with that, since it currently sits at a nice 69 on OpenCritic. Some of the reviews here are pretty savage though. Jordan Garcia of Well Played scored it a 3 out of 10, saying, quote, "The saying that everything deserves a second chance should not have applied to Elex. Elex 2 takes so many steps backwards from an already poor game, it's astounding. Its writing, optimization, combat, and game systems all stand as a new benchmark on what to not do," end quote. While IGN scored it a 4 out of 10, with an only slightly less spicy strapline reading, quote, "Most evident in its clunky, annoying combat system, Elex 2 is living in a janky Euro RPG past that its closest peers have nearly all transcended by now," end quote. Oof. Gotta wonder if Elex 3 is in the works after that sort of reception. Shadow Warrior 3 hit all platforms but the Switch last week as well, and it too met a very mixed reception, though it didn't seem to elicit the same vitriol that Elex 2 did. It currently sits at a mixed 60% positive on Steam, not a great result, while OpenCritic has it at a fair 73. Reviews point to a 5-hour romp that doesn't wear out its welcome, where a longer playtime might have made its repetitive gameplay and humor a little less tolerable. Game Informer scored it a 7, saying, quote, "When most major releases these days are 100-hour juggernauts," I don't know about that by the way, "Shadow Warrior 3's 5-hour playthrough is a nice alternative and it's worth a look. Just be prepared to groan frequently and be oddly amused by those groans," end quote. Alrighty, Babylon's Fall. Whoa, man. Okay, so, yeah, this happened, I guess. What started as a promising single-player character action game from industry darling Platinum Games has become one of the most dramatic belly flops since Balan Wonderworld, another Square Enix game that was released around the same time last year. Man, Square really need to steer clear of quarter one. Babylon's Fall isn't just bad, it's like top 10 worst games of 2022 bad. I mean, you just know it's gonna be on every one of those lists at the end of the year. The title currently sits at a mixed 49% on Steam and a weak source 44 on OpenCritic. Like most awful games, the reviews for this one have produced some absolutely banging zingers, like Game Central, who scored it a 2 out of 10, saying, quote, "Not only the worst game Platinum has ever made, but one of the worst live service titles of any kind, with an especially disgusting attitude towards microtransactions," end quote. Or The Gamer's Take, who scored the game 1 out of 5 stars, saying, quote, Babylon's Fall is a poor attempt at a cash grab that doesn't even get that right. No one is going to want to spend money on it, end quote. That is a highly accurate quote because this game, and I couldn't believe it when I confirmed it, is a full price game. I really did not think that was going to be the case. I thought it would at least be a discounted title, but nope. They are asking 100 Australian dollars for this half-baked microtransaction stuffed turkey of a video game. Square Enix are desperate to break into the live service market, but this game peaked at around 1,100 players on Steam, so those live service streams are going to have to wait a little while longer. To be fair though, 1,100 people is just over half the size of the current Battlefield 2042 audience, so maybe they have a shot after all. Damn man, even I feel bad for Battlefield after making that joke. Let's move on. As though to make up for Babylon's fail, Square Enix also released Nintendo Switch exclusive Triangle Strategy last week, and this one has delighted critics and fans alike. Eurogamer recommended this one, saying, quote, "Despite moving slowly in both its story and in combat, Triangle Strategy ultimately rewards your patience," end quote. While Shack News scored it an 8, saying, quote, "If nothing else, Triangle Strategy shows that Square Enix has some fire in its turn-based tactical engine. It just needs to balance its scales between exposition and gameplay a little better," end quote. Biggest release of the week was Sony's flagship racing title, Gran Turismo 7, which it appears has had a resounding return to form in this latest installment. After years of the Forza series taking top honors, Polyphony got their mojo back and delivered a career-based racing experience that harkens back to the glory days of Gran Turismo 2 and 3, where the series rode high as the preeminent driving simulator. Critics are thrilled with the game, scoring it a mighty 87 on OpenCritic. IGN's racing expert Luke Riley scored the game a 9 out of 10, saying, quote, "Mixing the original Gran Turismo's trend-setting format with GT Sport's stern but successful focus on competitive online racing, Gran Turismo 7 makes a few errors but is a potent podium performance from director Polyphony Digital." Damn, that's a lot of P's. Anyway, Polygon also put it nicely when they said, quote, "Aging gracefully, Polyphony's racing series has never seemed more like itself," end quote. There are some concerns out there about the in-game economy and the attached microtransactions, which can be very pricey if you are straight up buying high-end cars instead of earning the credits for them. But outside of that, everyone is agreed that Gran Turismo is back, and with a robust roadmap of future updates and content, it looks like it won't be going anywhere anytime soon. So what's coming out this week? Well, it's a quiet one as we await a few heavy hitters arriving later this month. This week, the highlight seems to be the Assassin's Creed Valhalla Dawn of Ragnarok expansion, which hit all platforms on the 10th. Reviews for this one are already out, and the general consensus seems to be that it's more Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's a 20 to 30 hour spin-off tale that puts you in the shoes of Odin and gives you a bunch of new mythical weapons and attacks, most notably the ability to siphon the power of your foes. But even with all this finery, the core of the experience remains much the same. If 200 hours of Valhalla wasn't enough for you, for some reason, and you wanted more of it, then this is for you, but this doesn't appear to be an experience designed for anyone already burned out on what Valhalla was offering. That cute Final Fantasy themed Mario Kart game is releasing this week as well. It's called Chocobo GP, and it's exclusive to the Nintendo Switch. I don't think anyone's expecting big things from this one, but hopefully it's good for a laugh or two while you wait for your duty roulette cues to pop when you queue DPS. Only other release for the week is a WWE game, WWE 2K22 to be precise. This one is hitting all platforms but the Switch today. Reviews for this one are already out, and it appears to be a perfectly fine wrestling game. That is literally all I know, because I do not follow wrestling, because wrestling is weird. Put this on your radar. Okay, so this is a true story, but I actually chose this game for this segment a while back because I think it looks great. It's called Submerged Hidden Depths. It's from an Australian studio. It's about exploring the remains of a civilization now largely underwater, and it hits very different this week when I, an Australian, am literally swimming around in my own office. Unfortunate happenstance aside, Submerged Hidden Depths ticks a lot of boxes for me, since I really enjoy exploration-focused experiences like Journey or Sable, where the point of the game isn't combat or RPG or loot, but just the simple joy of seeing new things. Submerged Hidden Depths is actually a sequel to the well-received Submerged, which released back in 2015. The sequel was supposed to be a Stadia exclusive, but now not so much, since Stadia is pretty much finished, which I guess means that they've released these studios from these exclusive agreements. The Australian dev scene is small, and making a game for a platform in its death throes would have been a touch nerve-wracking, so it'd be great if you guys could check this one out. I've left a link to the Steam page below, but it's also hitting every platform but the Switch. It's out today. This week I'm taking the unusual step of combining both our sort of free stuff and our feel-good story of the week because I think the circumstances call for it. While video game companies are closing up shop in Russia to show solidarity with the people of Ukraine, some of them are also doing what they can to fundraise some cash. Enter the itch.io bundle for Ukraine, which kinda needs to be seen to be believed. This thing has 992 games, each of them donated by the people who made them. If you were to buy each of these games separately, it would equate to roughly $6,500 US. Thanks to the generosity of these developers and publishers, you can get all these games for as little as $10 US. You can donate more if you'd like, and every single dollar you pay will go to support the people of Ukraine through both the International Medical Corps and an organization called Voices of Children, an important organization that helps children recover from the effects of war. This bundle has some absolute bangers in it. Stuff like Backbone, Crosscode, Superhot, Baba Is You, Celeste, Minute, and so much more. All of these games are DRM free, by the way, so you have them forever. They're yours. It's an incredible bundle, the likes of which I've never seen before. So dig deep if you can afford it. It's going to an extremely worthwhile cause, and you get yourself nearly 1,000 games for doing so. Not bad at all. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the show all wrapped. The recovery effort continues here, and I expect my office will be out of action for a few weeks, but the content is going to keep on coming. The Destiny review is definitely out next week now that I've done the raid, and there's still plenty more to look forward to, like Stranger of Paradise and Tiny Tina and Ghostwire Tokyo. I may be a little late on all of those owing to the troubles, but we'll still get there in the end. If you want to show your boy some love, then 1 like equals 1 bucket of water bailed out of my office, and 1 click of the subscribe button is, I don't know, like some new socks or something, because my feet are really cold. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you next week. I saw a tweet the other day that went something like this. Next time your dentist asks you if you floss daily, ask them if they're using a unique password for each of their online accounts. Spoiler, they're not. And most likely, neither are you. I get it, coming up with unique passwords really sucks. What with, bothering to come up with them in the first place and then remembering them and storing them somewhere, and then sometimes you forget them or lose them, and then you go through that annoying password reset stuff, and the email takes like 5 minutes to come through, and you're just sitting there thinking, God, this really shouldn't be this difficult. And you're right, it shouldn't be. And it isn't, thanks to NordPass. NordPass is, at its core, a password manager. It helps you create unique passwords that are tougher to crack than the typical ABC123 that most of us are fond of. It stores those passwords securely so that you have a record of them, but you don't even need that since it also has an autofill option that automatically populates your passwords for you. Think of it as your own digital keychain where every key is unique and you can never lose them. NordPass is super easy to use, and since so much of our lives is now lived through various online accounts, this sort of security is a bit of a no-brainer. Things like your bank details, your personal data, your private correspondence, all of that is locked behind passwords, so adding this extra layer of security to all of that is one of the smartest things you can do to protect yourself and your family. Best of all, NordPass are providing a huge discount to viewers of the channel. Right now, you can get up to 70% off NordPass at nordpass.com/skillup if you use the offer code SKILLUP. Plus, you get an extra month free. The offer is valid for a limited time, so click the link in the description below to get yours. And if you don't like it, NordPass actually offer a full 30-day money-back guarantee, so that's awesome. Keep your passwords safe with NordPass. Thanks NordPass for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it.